welcome back to the Cocco channel and to my really creepy face. I'm doing a mask and eating some nuts. And a couple weeks ago I asked you guys to ask me some questions, and Raw Beauty Chrissy does this thing where she sits in a bathtub and says "mask me anything." While she does a mask, she answers questions. Not to the point where I would sit in a bathtub with you, but I figured I have a mask on and Bailey's asleep, Aiden's being Aiden, and so let's answer some questions. Miss Marie LaRue, I'm a migraine sufferer myself. Do you have any tips, tricks, or meds that help treat and or prevent? So to get meds out of the way, the only one that I have found that has ever worked for me is called zolmitriptan. I used to take the 2.5 dissolvable tablets, and then I saw a new primary and she gave me a 5 milligram tablet that I swallow. It works every single time. I want to say probably like 90% of the time. I shouldn't say every single time. I should say 90% of the time. I take that as when I feel one coming on. I've been on preventative medications in the past where you take a pill every single day and it didn't help. I've done an inhaler of Zomig. I don't think I've ever been prescribed. What is the other one that everyone uses? It starts with the S. Can't remember, but I've never been put on that one. And like I said, by far, zolmitriptan is the one that works the most for me. The biggest trigger for me is sleep, and I'm a mom, and so I can't always guarantee myself that I'm gonna get like a restful, peaceful night's sleep. But if you're one that doesn't have kids or, you know, responsibilities of that sort, where you can get up in the middle of the night and things like that, I highly recommend going to bed at a reasonable hour depending on what time you're waking up in the night. Another huge thing that I've noticed, I don't use my phone in bed anymore before I go to sleep, and that's helped me a lot, not having that screen right before I go to bed, because I'm pretty much a person that right when I wake up do jump on my phone, just because, you know, I'm trying to be someone on social media, and so, you know, anything that I missed throughout the night, I go through messages and stuff like that. So I try not to do too much screen time like right in my face all the time. I try and dedicate certain spots to it, so I would definitely watch out on your screen time, your sleep. Another trigger and contributor that I've noticed is definitely diet. If I'm eating a ton of bread, which, you know, I haven't been lately. I shouldn't say that. I was doing really well for a while on keto, and I fell off this last couple of weeks just because I've been battling depression and going through a lot of stuff, and so my whole entire life I've struggled with my weight and food as a comfort. And so when I'm upset, I do eat like crap, and I've noticed such a difference. Like, I just don't feel as good, and I can feel headaches in the morning like coming on if I'm not eating correctly. So yeah, and another thing I think would be water. Water is a huge one. So sleep, screen time, diet, and water. Miss KP, my love of my life, Christina, if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be? I honestly think I would live in the English countryside, like not full on in the middle of nowhere, but there are so many little old English towns, and I watch so many English YouTubers that I just feel like I would be at peace there. They have like parks and gardens and stuff like that everywhere, and everyone seems to be so, I mean, the grass is always greener on the other side, but for the most part it seems as if the class of people is a little bit different there in England, and I don't, you know, it's just a different class, and especially where I am. Class has nothing to do with race. It's about, you know, how you're brought up and how you present yourself, how you act, manners, respect. I feel like that's gone a lot, especially where I am. I have a whole horror story about that. Miss Rachel Lambro says, what do you think you would do during times Andrew is deployed if you had no kids? How do you think you would feel about having the house to yourself for such long periods of time? That's a really good question. So we have done one deployment where Andrew, we didn't have kids. It was like literally the year after we got married. but I didn't have like a house all to myself, because typically for military spouses, if you don't have kids, the smartest thing for you to do, if you're able, is to move in back home with your parents, if you're able to, if you can survive it. I almost didn't. I almost moved back a couple times, but I think it was 2012, Andrew got deployed in October and didn't come back until the following year in May. Yeah, it was May. And so right when he left, this is starting to crack a little bit. Right when he left, I moved home. We were living on base, so we didn't, buy our own house. A lot of people don't buy their homes when they're active duty military, but because right now we're guard, we're not going to be moved. Guard and active duty, you're under federal. They move you where they want you, where they need you. To whereas guard, you're typically under the state, and so you're gonna stay where you are typically. There aren't a ton of full-time guard positions. God literally created this position for Andrew because we were scattering after the police debacle. He didn't want to be a police officer anymore. And so anyways, it was such a roundabout story. Because we didn't own our own home back in DC, we were living on base. You're not under lease or anything because you're going to be moving all over the place. So we put all of our stuff in storage. When I say we, I mean me and my best friend Chris. Andrew had already left. And we packed up my car. Whatever would fit in my car is what I took here to Arizona with me to live with my parents for those 7 months. And I worked full time at Joann's. And I think I would have done things a little bit differently. I definitely think I still would have moved in with my parents, because the whole perk to that, which is where I was going with that story, is that you get what's called BAH, which is base assisted housing. They take a average of your area that you are stationed at, and that's what they give you for rent, and each rank gets a little bit of a bump up, like a raise, and then you get BAS, which is base assisted sustenance, and so they give you an average of like what a family would spend on groceries. And so when you live on base, they take 100% of your BAH. It goes directly to privatized housing. It's no longer even owned by bases, at least for the base we were on. And so they take 100% of that, no matter what rank you are. And when you move off base, you get that. And so, for DC, Andrew was staff sergeant. We were getting $2,100 because DC is so expensive. And so say we lived off base and our rent was only $1,800, we were pocketing, you would theoretically pocket $300. So that's essentially what's happening right now. It's a little bit different. It's not as much here in Arizona. We get so much for housing, and our rent is however much. And so that's why a lot of people move in with their parents when your spouse gets deployed. You get to pocket all that money. We made a really good chunk of change on our last deployment. It's nowhere near the same. So I still would have moved out and stayed with my parents probably with no kids, but I think I would have been a little bit more adventurous. I don't feel like I did a whole lot. I just worked and focused on missing Andrew, to whereas like now I don't have that option. We just bought a home before we found out he was getting deployed, because we were staying with my parents while our house was being built. And so I almost wish, but we wouldn't have, we were already staying there too long. But I feel like I'm trying to keep more busy. I feel like if I would have had like a big huge house to myself, I would definitely have like, I would go on more adventures. I went on a couple. My friend Chris and I like went to Disneyland. We did another road trip too, and then of course him and I did the road trip back and forth with each other. When Andrew was on his way back home, I had to move back and like get all of our stuff out of storage, and my best friend Chris went with me. And so yeah, I think I would have definitely went on more adventures if I didn't have kids. You kind of take it that for granted, that you could literally go anywhere and do anything at any time and have no ties to it, aside from like money, obviously, like if you can't afford to go do things. But now, like, I couldn't just drive to California like on a whim. It doesn't feel like. Miss Jacqueline, oh, I miss you. What do you still want to do to the house as far as decorating home improvements, etc. I know we would all love a house tour in the future, but no pressure. I do have footage. I don't know if you guys remember when we moved in. It's been almost a year. In July, it'll be a year that we've been in this house, which is just insane to me. But I did do a whole entire video of the house empty, and so I wanted to wait until our 1 year to show you what it looks like now, so I could do like one of those fancy before and afters, but it won't be that fancy. You know what I mean? So as far as what I still want to do, I want to paint my office. My walls are white. I want to paint the kids' bedrooms. And I wouldn't do anything funky. I would do like just probably the same color, honestly. I just really like the gray that I chose. I think it's called Gravity from Valspar. Is it Valspar? I'm pretty sure. I would really like to change a couple of light fixtures downstairs. I have the hookups for like drop down lights. What are those called? Pendants over my breakfast bar, and I would love to change the chandelier over my dining room table. That's like way down the line and something, you know, that is such a silly thing to think about, but that's what I really want to do. And then I don't think you guys know because well, yeah, I've shown before, but our backyard is completely bare dirt, so we do need to landscape that, and we have a million different ideas of what we want to do. We're not gonna do any pool. We're not gonna do any water because my parents have a pool and they're expensive. So also, what are your thoughts on minimalism? I think that if it's done correctly, it's beautiful. I think you mean as far as decor. I'm not a minimalist. I feel like I'm not over the top, but I definitely have like every nook kind of decorated. Like I don't have like a lot of bare, you know, like I don't like barren walls. I don't know. I don't think minimalism is for me, but if it's done correctly, it is really, really pretty, and you know, if it's pulled off correctly. Amber Stedman asked, what made you decide to go paleo keto? I couldn't really even tell you that I'm keto right now because I've been so off the wagon. When my sister-in-laws came for Christmas, when they came, one of them was keto, and she had been keto for a while, and she just looked so good. And I don't even mean, like, she did lose a ton of weight, but she just looked healthy and like vibrant and beautiful, and she said that she felt so good. And I think a big part of it was she even said that this was a forever thing. It was a lifestyle. Like, it wasn't a diet. It wasn't, you know, she didn't feel like held back or, you know, down almost by a diet or restricted, I guess you could say. She just truly felt like this was how she ate, and that was it. So that was what made me want to initially start it. I am gonna get back on it this week. What would you say your favorite family meal is? Your favorite family meal to make? I feel like my favorite thing that I love to make is ravioli, which is literally not keto. I mean, I guess you could find some keto-friendly pasta, but you know, and you could have the cheese, but I love to fry them up with breadcrumbs. I know it's not healthy at all, but it's like one of my favorite things to eat, and you dip it in mozzarella. Costco has these ones, and they're literally just spinach and mozzarella raviolis, and those are the ones that I like get egg wash on, and then I do the Italian breadcrumbs and fry them in olive oil. Woo! And my you know, husband loves those too. I feel like my husband's favorite meal in general is breakfast. Like, he could eat breakfast for every meal. So anytime I make a breakfast item like pancakes or waffles or egg scrambles, I love doing egg scrambles because they're really easy. Will you be making any more horror stories? Yes. I'm just trying to figure out how to order it, because I asked you guys like if you were okay with hearing like really deep, dark horror stories about like teenage suicide and stuff like that, because I dealt with it, and teenage drinking and drug use and stuff like that, and you all said yes. And so I'm just trying to figure out the order of events and how to break that up into multiple videos. So we'll be getting into that. And she said, finally, what made you start to do YouTube, and what do you think your biggest accomplishment is so far with YouTube? So what made me want to start actually is when I moved to DC, you know, I wanted a way to connect with my mom specifically. I literally made a YouTube channel so she could watch different things. I was just getting really into makeup, and YouTube was just like blowing up. You're talking like 2014. I was like doing different makeup and hair and stuff like that, and my mom, she said that she like would try to watch tutorials and everyone was just like talking too fast and she couldn't get it. And so I was like, you know, I wonder if I could just sit down and like explain things in like almost layman's terms, you know, and if that would help her. I wasn't making it for anybody else. And then a couple months later, Missy started her channel, and I think that that's who Shauna had found her, and then Missy and I used to collab all the time, and that's how I found Shauna, and then Miss Mary, and then Michelle. And so like we kind of created this whole community, and that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna like do this for real and do like reviews. And I used to have a literally video for every single day of the week. I had Make It Monday, Tutorial Tuesday, Worth It Wednesday, Thoughts on Thursday, Fabulous Friday Finds, Subscription Saturday where I did a subscription box, and then Sunday Fun Day hauls. I literally had a video every single day of the week. Like I jumped all in. I loved it. I wanted to do it. And then I got pregnant with Aiden and I stopped for a whole entire year. That's what made me start it. I feel like my biggest accomplishment is definitely the community. I don't feel like there's like a specific event yet. I have some amazing things coming up. Some amazing things coming up later on this year. And I feel like that's more from Instagram. I don't feel like that's from YouTube. I feel like the biggest thing that I feel so good about for YouTube is like the community. Just my subscribers and the fellow ladies that I create with. Like I just love all of that so much. Like it means so much to me. So yeah, I feel like that's my biggest accomplishment so far with YouTube. The YouTubes. Harley David Girl 72. Do you like living on the West Coast or East Coast, and why? I love your channel. Thank you so much. I definitely prefer East Coast because I'm a 4 seasons kind of girl. I need a spring, I need a fall especially, and I need snow, and I don't need 120 degrees. So I'm obviously living in the wrong state because Arizona literally has none of that. We had a pretty good winter this year, and there wasn't really changing of leaves, but we had a really pretty spring. Like we had a lot of blooms this year, but I would definitely pick East Coast any day, hands down. But I would just pick something like a little bit smaller. It's so funny because I always told my husband that if him and I weren't married, like I would be living in like downtown Chicago or New York, like in an apartment, and I would be fine without a car or any of that. I lived in Chicago my first year of college and I freaking loved it. But the older I get, the less people I want to live next to. I love going to social events and I'm a social person, but I would love to live on land where I could like have a beautiful flower garden, and you just can't do that here in Arizona. I'm sure there's other places here on the West Coast, but I lived in California when I was younger and it's just way too crowded for me and expensive. It's beautiful and I'll visit there probably till the day I die. I love it there. But and then I lived in Vegas for a good chunk of my life, and it was the same as Arizona really. You can't have like full-on gardens and you know stuff like that. So East Coast. Miss Amy Lynn 75 said, where is your favorite place to shop, online and brick and mortar store? Without being too cliche and saying like Target, I think my favorite place to shop online, again cliche saying Amazon. I freaking love Amazon. I'm trying to think of, yeah, I literally buy everything off of Amazon. I just feel like a lot of the times with like regular clothing brands, I can't even remember the last time I went on to like a clothing brand website like Forever 21 or H&M or Old Navy or any of that for myself. It just felt like you know, because I'm a curvier girl, some places, you know, you're an extra large and you're in the plus size section, and you know, those types of clothes and the style that they typically provide for plus size is not my style. And I don't mean anything by that other than like, I don't know, I feel like it's a lot of like jumpers and like bell bottoms, and even in the regular sized clothing, I feel like I feel much more comfortable going on Amazon and searching specifically for what I want, like a flowered t-shirt dress, you know, that's gonna fit my curves. And so I have really honestly been buying all of my stuff off of Amazon lately, and the only other place that I have a opportunity to go to where I can try on clothes with my kids and it not go into a complete tornado is Target. You know, the Walmart that is next to me is not a safe Walmart to go to by yourself, from what I hear. That's like coming from my husband on the police force, like when he was on the police force. And so yeah, it's like literally Target and Amazon. And that is such a basic white girl answer, but it's the truth, and it's like what I'm comfortable with. It's where, you know, my go-to is. I feel like you get really good deals because I'm a Prime member. They have a lot of coupons that you can literally click, and it like clips you click it and it clips a coupon, you know, or Target where you have Cartwheel and they have really good sales all the time. So that's definitely my basic white girl answer, Amazon and Target. Miss Calissa Crawford says, what happens when Andrew comes home? Does he go straight back to work or does he get a break? So what they get is mandatory 2 weeks of R&R. That's what they call it. And so he'll be at home, but he can't really, like, we can't like jump on a plane and like go on vacation. During the R&R time, they typically have to in-process, which involves a lot of paperwork. You have to go through uniforms, you have to go through finance, you have to go through the NPF office, which is like basically our DMV of like issuing IDs and, you know, putting you back in the system to get paid. Insurance and all of that. And so he'll get those 2 weeks of not doing anything, and then he has a ton of time saved up, and he was even thinking about taking it and like not going back to work for like a month and a half. But then we started talking about, you know, for the rest of the year we are going to take more little trips, both with the kids, with my parents, like as camping trips. But him and I have had like many discussions about how him and I need to invest more in each other, and if that involves asking for help, which him and I have always been very hesitant to do from my parents, of overnight trips and stuff like that, then we're gonna ask them, just because, you know, life is short and Andrew and I need to invest in each other, just like, you know, you need to invest in any relationship. Him and I get very comfortable with, you know, being at home and he plays his video games and I do my YouTube, you know. That was like always our trade-off. Like I would let him play for a couple hours and watch the kids, and then he would let me record, edit, and upload for a couple hours, and we weren't really investing in each other. And I am such an adventurous person. Like I am down to go to anything and do pretty much anything. I'm not down to eat anything. My husband like will eat like animals and bugs and stuff. He's such a weirdo. But I'm down for the socialization part of it, like going to a new restaurant or a new hotel or, you know, an outdoor activity. I don't know. And so him and I just, you know, talked about like compromising on that. Like, of course we'll have like home days and, you know, where he just loves to like sit on the couch and watch Bob's Burgers, and I'm down with that too. But, you know, I am trying to get into the Phoenix, I shouldn't say scene because that sounds so cheesy, but I'm trying to get into the Phoenix scene of like blogging and influencers and stuff like that. And so I told him I want to start going to like newer restaurants and, you know, really cool, like Phoenix has a ton of really cool stuff, and not just Phoenix, there's so many areas around Phoenix. We're not far from Red Rock. There's like some natural water, like the 7 pools of wonder. There's like all kinds of stuff. You know, I could go on and on, but I don't want to because this video is already long enough. I couldn't believe I only had like a couple, it was like 10 questions, and I didn't think it was going to take up too much time, but it took up a half hour, and now my mask is completely dry. I'm really sorry for the glare the whole entire time, but I'm finding that the less I wear my glasses, the more headaches I get. So yeah, I hope you guys are, you know, having a really great day and that this was somewhat entertaining and informational. If you have any other questions, I would be happy to answer them. I think I'm gonna do another Q&A when Andrew gets home, since we did one when he left, and you guys can ask us like anything, you know, about the deployment or anything in general. And other than that, I will catch you guys in my next video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're new, hello and welcome. My name is Brittany Cocco. I don't always look like this. Believe it or not. Please subscribe if you're not already, and I will catch you guys in my next video. Okay, bye!